Right. Good evening, everyone. It's our Sustainability Committee meeting for April. Thank you for the public, for anyone who's going to tune in later, and get started. So, Bridget, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so we were just discussing the draft proposal and seasonal limitations on potentially on leaf blowers. The way we were sort of going to word this and suggest is based off of what other towns in Westchester have done. So, you know, for instance, Bedford has a ban from May through September, it looks like, and they allow it from October through a certain time. So we're looking at something similar to that at this point. Let me just, I'm going through.
I can just jump in to say that,
Yeah.
I mean, part of the philosophy behind approaching it this way is obviously landscapers work in all these municipalities. I mean, sometimes I think they're not even sure. You might have a split property, Portchester, Rybrook, where they're in Rye in the morning and then Rybrook in the afternoon. And we think that, ideally what would be great is if there was a Westchester wide approach to this. And it does look like there's proposed legislation for New York State, restriction on gas blowers and eventually even phasing out the sale of gas powered lawn equipment in totality. But being the way that it is at this point, village by village, a lot of these villages, you can see in the chart, have had legislation for many years, some dating back even to 2000 and 2009. So, we know that a lot of the landscapers that work in Rybrook work in these other towns and are, familiar with how it proceeds. So hopefully the more consistent we can be with other villages, the easier it is on them as well.
And that's important because you got 42 different municipalities, 42 different laws, 42 different requirements. And, it makes it hard because I see that when it comes to our codes with regards to trees, it's a problem. It's a problem when you talk about the stormwater code, because everybody's got their own issues, their own approach, and their own rules. And that really, it really complicates it on these guys. And be mindful. A lot of these guys are seasonal, that their employees are not necessarily year-round employees. There may be potentially a language barrier. They're in and out of these municipalities in half a day, and then they're hopping around. So, the more you could do it uniform with other municipalities, at least in the local area, at least Portchester, Rye Brook, maybe Harrison area, at least, you keep your mom and pop shops who are here, like your Vito Longos, your Sal Hernandez's, your Zamoras, who do work in these areas. It helps them out a little bit.
No doubt. That's what we're thinking too.
And as you mentioned too, there are some areas where we're half Harrison, half Rybrook, half Portchester, half here. So what happens if the guy's in the backyard and all of a sudden the cop shows up? It becomes a little, catch-22 on a Saturday morning.
No doubt.
Yeah, I actually live on the border, so my neighbor is half Rybrook, half Portchester, so he's always asking questions. We want to be reasonable, and we do want to make it as uniform as we can. So we're not trying to do anything crazy that like nobody else has done before. I think there are people that have much stricter leaf bans than we're going for at this point. This would just be kind of a starting point I think a lot of people's issues, I know from before, people were really concerned about noise more than anything, because now a lot of people are working from home and the noise is super disruptive from all these leaf blowers. So especially, on a nice day, you want to be able to enjoy outside, and everybody's blowing leaves and there's like dust in the air and stuff. So we got a lot of people writing us with complaints, asking like, hey, when are you going to do something about this? When are you going to do like a restriction or something? So I think that's kind of where we started. But we also, of course, from the sustainability aspect, Leaf blowers, they use gas, and it's really not good for the environment and people's health. So that's the other side of it too. But
Well, a few other things that should also be taken into consideration is that there are other companies, other jobs, other tasks that require a leaf blower. So it's not just your landscapers. I mean, you have tree company, utility work, you have emergency services who respond to either a tree down in the road or do day-to-day tree work, who will clean up with a leaf blower. So, you got to take that into account too, because these operations where, I mean, you're chipping up a tree and you got all the dust, all the sawdust all over the road. There's no way that someone's going to sit there with a broom. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, someone's not going to sit there with a broom and go over 80 feet of roadway when they just took down 8 trees. I mean, they're going to pull out a leaf blower and they're going to blow it into a pile and pick it up. So things like that start coming into play. When there are accidents, the same thing happens. When there's an emergency with Con Ed and tree limbs are down, it happens. So I just want you guys to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, and I think so that is something that we did put in, not in so many words, but we did have a little portion of it that talks about emergency use, like for Con Edison and things like that. But we could definitely add for people that do trees, other circumstances, I'm sure. So, but it's a little bit broad. So I think that could be used. But yeah, I understand that, people are going to call anyways. They're going to be like, oh, somebody's using a leaf blower, enforce the, people that get annoyed by the sound. So I think that's kind of something we need to figure out, is how to make it really clear exactly what we're banning and when we're banning it, so that people aren't, coming out or the police aren't being called for like tree limb sort of things and Con Ed or whatever. So, which hopefully people don't call the police for leaf blowers anyways, but you never know. So.
It will happen because it happens in other municipalities. So do not doubt that it will happen.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the village's end, I'll let Paul Vinci talk about our operations from the perspective of DPW, parks, mechanics, and on how we operate, what we use our blowers for, when we use it, and then and then I'll jump in on it as well. So Paul, do you want to explain
Sure.
our operation?
Just a little bit overview. We're not just central in one park. We have multiple parks through the village. We try to keep them beautified as best we can for our residents to enjoy. And so we're all over the road. Plus we have islands right by your houses, as you know. So like I said, we're just not in one location. So like some municipalities have all electric in their parks. So it's a lot easier for them to break that down, to cut a field here today, tomorrow. Because we're so spread out, we would need a lot more trailers to trailer it, because a lot of it's by battery. A lot of our stuff we do over the road because we have a small group. So I'll send out my main guy to go cut on our big machine. And then we have a trailer that has the walk behinds and some blowers and weed whackers that goes up behind that and clean them up, and some of our islands. So we would need a lot of equipment when we do the changeover. So as long as we do it nice and slow, I think we can make this happen. It's just, we just got to take it nice and slow and come up with a good plan for us to transition over to it. But with the equipment wise, it's definitely going to be a lot. So, we're not against it at all, but we're okay. We understand it's going to happen. It's just my perspective and how we look. We just have to go nice and easy till we get there. So yeah, some time, some dates, some type of guidelines, absolutely. And so we can meet that expectation and move it forward for sure. But I just be mindful that we're just not in one central location when we do this. We're all over the village, and then we have emergency call outs at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Not to say that we're using a blower, but there's sometimes during those storms I have to use chainsaws. Our main priority is to keep the roads open, to get emergency services to all the residents. That's our main goal here. And the same thing when it comes to snow and all that. So we're here for the 4 seasons. We're basically 24/7, like emergency services. If you get something in the middle of the night, you call. they'll call us if it's our need or the police or fire. So we're right there with your service, and we want to give you the best service that we can for the residents. So so we're trying to be mindful, of that as well.
I have a
So,
question.
yeah.
Oh, so when you were talking about, a slow transition to new equipment, and you were talking about, needing a lot of equipment, especially because you're in different locations, do you foresee, like, say that you had one gas blower breakdown, you could get one electric blower. Do you see it as, is it like a 1-for-1 replacement? Or do you think in a transition to electric, you need more different things or a higher volume of equipment pieces?
Yes, exactly. So high volume, which is, I would say, more commercial grade. But my biggest concern is how many batteries do I have to carry?
Mhm.
How much is the power of that when we do like a good 6-hour day? How much am I going to need? So I got to do a lot more calculations.
I wonder,
So,
I mean, I have like I've had an electric landscaper for 5 years, and they are based, his name's Dan Delventhal, the company is Mo Green. If you hear about any of these, landscaper forums, he's always there talking about how, I mean, they drive around in a Prius, and they, when they're at my house, they're charging their equipment. I'm just wondering if, someone, you know, you're doing your own calculations, and granted, you're talking about emergency situations in addition to landscaping situations, but I'm wondering, someone like him, knows the reality of like what breaks down and the need for replacing things. I mean, one of the things they talk about is the electric equipment has, like 12 or 24 different parts as compared to gas equipment. It has hundreds and this and that. And have you been able to get guidance from any people who've already made these transitions?
So here's where we're at. We attend many conferences and seminars. Paulie is actually going up to Cornell University in June for highway school up there. We are a member. I'm on the Cornell Local Roads Board up in Ithaca at the college. I am the Westchester County Public Works Association president. I am the vice president of the American Public Works New York chapter. Okay, so I'm going to a conference actually in August. We talk to our peers, we talk to our cohorts. Where we are is this. The electric equipment for the municipal market is not there yet. There are products on the market that are electric, and I'll give you examples because I've done research into this. There are products, but they're entry-level commercial. Even though they might be called commercial grade, they're not commercial grade that we're used to seeing, like a steel chainsaw, a Husqvarna chainsaw. Those are your two name brands that municipalities use. We're a steel shop, so all our chainsaws are steel. All our backpack blowers predominantly are Red Max. All our mowers are Bobcat. So
And John Deere
I'm sorry.
on a bigger mowers.
So for the most part, you're not seeing these name brand manufacturers out there yet with municipal level equipment. There are companies like Greenworks that have commercial equipment, but it's more residential commercial. It's not industrial commercial like a John Deere mower that's going to hold up to a beating. Okay, so we did look into this, and for example, we operate, I don't know, maybe 8 backpack blowers, Paulie, maybe 6.
Yeah, can I also interrupt 1 minute, Mike? See, Mike brought a good point up. See, our main cutter that does the parks and also what we do in the islands is used all year round because we have a broom attachment to it. We have a blower for the leaves. We have a blower for the snow. And what else? And we have the mowing deck. So that one piece of equipment gets used all year round. It's doesn't have any downtime. So we're taking all this into account when we start looking at some of the electric stuff. What is the need? How much more equipment we're going to need? So when we're out there doing our sidewalks, after we've plowed for many, many hours and we're cleaning the sidewalks, we just have to be cautious of how this gets done. Is the equipment good enough for us and less on breakdown? Because, it's also a time crunch here too with the village, and we have to manage our time as well.
So
Sorry, Mike.
no, that's fine. So in regards to backpacks, as an example, okay, our Red Max blowers put out 206 mile an hour blowing capacity at 908 cubic feet per minute. Okay, the next equivalent is a Husqvarna, which puts out 1,000 CFM of air, which is volume of air, at 220 miles an hour. Okay, the average price of these is anywhere from $500 to $600, ballpark. Okay, the only thing right now in the market that's even close to this in electric is a Steel BGA 200, which is a handheld blower. Okay, a little handheld blower that has a battery. The battery it comes with only has a 22-minute runtime. Okay.
Wow.
So if you want something that's going to run a significant amount of time, you have to upgrade to a backpack lithium ion battery. And it's only 186 miles an hour output, and it's only 459 CFM. So it's half of the power that you have in a backpack. The backpack battery is rated for 212 minutes of use. I'm going to say 180 as a margin of error. So you only get 2.5 to 3 hours out of it. Okay. Cost wise, the handheld blower is $399. The battery is $899. The charger is $150. You're looking at $1,500 for one piece of equipment that only has about a 2-hour usable time. Okay, so that's one person for 2 hours, where our guys are out in the ball fields. They're doing Garibaldi, Pine Ridge, Harkness Park for all day, 8 hours. So now we need to get another 3 batteries just for that one blower at $1,000 a battery.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's out there, but we feel that technology is not 100% there yet. Okay. Right. I mean, the same thing goes for chainsaws. Husqvarna and Steel both have electric chainsaws. We've talked about it. We've looked into a couple. We're going to look into them at our conferences a little more. Okay. Because they're going to be out there. And once again, you're limited to a trimming saw size. So anything in the 14 to 16 inch range, where you're looking at 35 minutes of usable time on a 20-inch chainsaw. 20 minutes at 2 a.m. during Hurricane Ida is not going to work.
Michael.
Storms situation. And the cost that you're talking about there is $410 for a chainsaw, plus $175 for a battery, plus $150 for the charger, gives you $735, where that equivalent chainsaw in gas is about $300.
Michael, is this possible that you supply us with these numbers and references?
Yeah, I could get that.
And perhaps also you have the usage of it, right? So you have gas, you have repairs, you have other factors that also play a role here. And perhaps we have to look at the whole picture. I mean, to compare apples and apples, we need to have that kind of information from you at, say, let's take a blower first, right? So you mentioned the capacities versus, the gas versus the electric version, but also the times, what you estimated. So we need to know like how many hours for like a session that they're going to be used, so we can build a parallel. You can somehow do a compare, but that needs to integrate everything, including the gas, including spare parts, repairs and others, replacement and others. So it's the same for a car. There are 2,000 parts in the ICE car versus 20 in the electric car. So even the upfront cost is very, very high. I've been driving EV for 12 years. I never go to the shop, never go to fix something that is related to a breakdown. So we have to consider the whole picture.
No,
So I know it's difficult.
I'm not doubting that.
Right.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just
Mhm.
giving you the information that I pulled together when I did my budget. Okay.
That's what we
And,
need.
and that's where I'm coming from. As I said, we started to go electric. You guys are not aware. All our Salters are electric. I think we only have one or two that are left over, but we've gone to electric 3 years ago on our Salter. So all our motors are all electric on those. All our other trucks are hydraulic with onboard hydraulics. So the pony motors, we've slowly started to phase out. Once again, longevity issues. We're changing out motors every year because they can't handle the tonnage. They can't handle the abuse. And that's something that you got to take into consideration with this equipment is it's going to get beaten up, not abused, meaning, well, the guys don't care. They're just going to throw it.
No, not that.
It works around the clock. It
Right.
works all day long. It works extended periods of time. So you have a lot more wear and tear on our equipment than you do on a homeowner.
Because it's over the road.
So,
I understand.
all of that comes into factor here.
No,
Okay.
and we need to consider that, and we need to compare. We need to go back and say, hey guys, you want to change, here are the problems, and perhaps we can have a conversation with suppliers, OEMs and others regarding this, and say we need to get to a certain level. We need to understand that we need that data that you very well collected for us.
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. I mean, it's fantastic that you are, already moving in this direction and are clearly really committed to it. I mean, when we initially had a conversation a couple meetings ago with Trustee Fisher, we made the distinction, like, when for this legislation, are we talking about the village works, or are we talking about the residents? And we decided we were talking about the residents because she already had some insight into what you're telling us now. And I think even in terms of what Bridget said at the beginning, the inspiration behind this is that, homeowners are complaining that they're hearing blowers all day long. They're not hearing village blowers all day long. They're hearing their neighbors' blowers all day long. So, and obviously that's a lot larger, square acreage than what you all are covering in the park. So, and that's why, when you read through the draft, it's really focused on the residences. And I'm not sure, actually, I mean, if we have even included anything that's specifically village. So I just think we need to work on a carve out for the type of work that you're doing, which is distinct from, someone with 0.3 acre having their lawn maintained on a, weekly, bi-weekly basis.
Well, I mean, our thing is this: if we're going to go to electric, our things that come into play is the standardization of equipment. So, if the village board wants to go down this road and they want to do this, that's awesome. But A, it's going to be pretty costly. B, that equipment is not 100% out there yet for us. And that might change by the time we go to the conference this year. Who knows? There might be some new products out there that we see. Okay. Our thing is that we standardize our equipment for the most part. So just to replace it when it breaks poses a problem, because technology changes so quick nowadays that your batteries might be outdated by the time you buy another piece of equipment. They might change the charger. How many times have you bought a cell phone in 2 years and the chargers are different? Right. And it's an Apple iPhone and you got two different chargers and you're like, what the hell? The market's going to do this to you. So we bought two Freightliners, our big plow trucks, 2 years apart. The hydraulics are different. The valves are different. Oops, I don't mean to point like that. The valves are different. Sorry. The valves are different. The computers inside the cabs are different. same manufacturer, same chassis, totally two different systems. And that's the one thing that Paulie and I are worried about, is that if we do it in small steps, that we might wind up with 2-3 different kinds of batteries, 2-3 different kinds of chargers. So we just want to understand more where this is all going as far as the technology end, even, and talk to Husqvarna and Steel and Bobcat and see, are they going to standardize this equipment? Are these batteries going to be the same batteries moving forward for 5 or 10
And I
years?
agree with you, Michael. I think
And those are just the things that we
no,
worry
no,
about.
it's all right. It's also going to help us when we have to brief the landscapers, because they're
they're
going
gonna
to
have the
face the
exact
same
same
exact
problem.
problems.
Yep.
So we need to learn from you guys if you can help us.
Yeah. See, our issue is that, as Paulie said, our guys are on the road. So when they leave the shop, they're not coming back until lunchtime. So for those 4 hours or 3.5 hours, they're working. So when you go to electric, they're not going to be charging that off of the truck, obviously, number one. Number two is not all our parks have electric. Number three, depending on how long these things take to recharge, and that I didn't really look into on what the recharge cycle is on some of these larger batteries, because I just didn't get into that. Those are the questions that we have, because if something has a 20-minute recharge on fast charge, and you could go from 30 or 20 to 80, then okay, that might not be so bad. Okay, you carry 2 batteries and you plug in wherever you can and do what you got to do, and you have a spare. But if you're running into a situation where it's 3-4 hours on a charge, now it becomes a little more harder, because by the time the guys get done, the other battery's not charged yet.
So what
these
Mike's
are all the
saying
things
is
we're trying to figure
our
out.
operation is going to change. So now we're going to have to look for another source of how we're going to be able to charge these things. So the
Yeah.
parks might be another opportunity to put electric in a place that we don't have electric, or
Right.
another shed somewhere, so we're able to store some batteries, or even change some, charge some batteries. So, while we're on the road, so we don't have to go, if we're on the north end of the village, come all the way back down and have that downtime, So these are the things we're starting to look at, or we have to put into the equation. And it's not just, so wherever we have the parks, we're looking.
I think that, Michael, I just think this initiative really needs to be, I think we need to separate what we're asking the residences to do and what the village is being asked to do. And I think I think that you guys get to lead that charge, because when the village asked the sustainability committee or any of the advisory committees to make a recommendation, we can make informed recommendations, but this is just something that it would be silly for us to try and scope something out with your work and your equipment. You know it like the back of your hand, and we don't. So I think you're doing the research, and if you all come up with, as you're working through, come up with a more concrete plan, and then we would be interested in hearing about it. And I think, again, that's just really distinct from what this other legislation draft that you looked at, which was really about landscapers that work on the residential properties, which is very consistent with, as we said, what they're already doing in the neighboring villages. And I think it's too hard to try and kind of combine the two in one piece of legislation. That's my opinion.
No, I mean, what we wanted to do is to make sure that you all understand our operation, because you guys
it's
don't see us
interesting.
working day to
course.
day. Okay.
I
mean,
know
lot
we're
of
throwing a
people
lot of
don't see us.
information out at you.
No, I love it. It's great.
But we want you to be
so-
aware of
so,
how
and as I
much
said,
behind the scenes
yeah.
that goes on. And, it kind of gets overlooked, because when you drive by, you go, oh boy, the park looks beautiful. You don't realize how it got to that point, and the passion that we have when we do beautify the park for the residents,
And I mean, now the village is entertaining a grant writing company. So that's something new that we're exploring come June. That person or the firm's going to be on board. So we're going to have that new chapter and help to try to find some grants, maybe potentially to find some money for stuff. I mean, like Paulie and I have been talking even about electric highway vehicles for us, even a pickup truck for each of us. They're out there. But once again, for example, the Ford Lightning is $40,000 in its stock form, and the mileage, that's our price, that's municipal price, 40. The driving radius is barely 200 miles on that. If you upgrade to the higher battery package, it's $10,000. Okay, so now you're up to 50,000, and it gives you almost a 400-mile radius on the truck. Now, Paulie and I both, in a storm emergency, I will tell you, I will drive almost 200 miles in an evening, in an Irene or Sandy or Lee, you know. So you don't realize how much mileage you put on the truck until you really start tracking it, which we do during the FEMA storms.
Right.
So now, I mean, both of us have been saying, yeah, we would love to get some grant money and get these a couple of trucks. But during an Ida, I got to be on the road. He's got to be on the road. Where's the truck? Oh, it's busy charging. So these are the things that we have to think about. How do we provide emergency services? How do we respond and not get caught with our pants down? Oops, I got to run back and charge my truck. How long is it going to charge? An hour.
Or we're blocking a roadway.
Or we're blocking the road with
And
our
now it dies.
lights on.
Now I can't get emergency service through.
Correct.
So these are the conversations we're having. How can we make this work? So we're.
It's in the same vein as the landscaping. We have to compare the scenario, anything that can happen.
Mhm.
And it's about the lifetime or life cycle analysis, the whole exercise.
Yep. Yeah, we're not against equipment and we're not against the trying. We want to see a little more from our manufacturers, what's going on from our name brand manufacturers like Husqvarna, Bobcat, and Steel, Red Max. We want to see a little more from these entities on what they're bringing out into the market a little bit. Because as an example, we looked at a walk behind mower. Okay, for example, our Bobcat mowers are about $5,000 and they're 4-cycle, they're not 2-cycle. The only equivalent one out there is a Greenworks machine, and it's $19,000. Once again, you're not seeing your Bobcats, okay, your X-Marks, your Skags, your Hustlers out there going this route just yet. And that's why we're being a little cautious. The fact that these name brand companies have not jumped in yet, we're a little skeptical of this equipment right now.
And you're going to hear this from the landscapers too, because they kind of use somewhat of the same equipment, if not better.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have almost the same equipment. X-Mark and the Bobcat are your 2 name brands.
Mhm.
Hustler's another one, and Skag. I mean, those are your 4 name brand commercial mowers that landscapers, contractors use on their trucks. And none of those 4 have yet to bring an electric unit to the market. Once again, that might change at the expos that we go to now. Maybe there is something now. And that's why we want to go to the conferences and see what new green technology is really coming out and is being supported by either Cornell University through Highway School or through the American Public Works Association, which is worldwide. We want to see what's up and coming. And then if there's a chance to get some grant money, then maybe, yeah, I mean, maybe we could pull a few $1,000s here and there, maybe get a backpack or 2, or maybe get a weed whacker or 2 or 3 and try to fool around with this stuff. Maybe get a set, meaning a weed whacker, a chainsaw, and the blower, and have a set and see how it works. Yeah, we're not against that kind of stuff.
And hopefully in the future, by this time, you're actually thinking of switching over. Hopefully the technology will be a lot better and there'll be better batteries and things like that. Because I would assume it won't be for a few years at minimum. So, yeah, but
Well, I mean, you have to realize this. When you're talking about a car, a Tesla, a Volkswagen has one now, a Ford actually has an Explorer that's going to be coming out this year. Okay, Equinox is coming out, a Chevrolet Equinox is coming out with an electric vehicle this year. You got to remember, those batteries, 10,000 pounds of them are held by 4 wheels. Okay, you can't jack up a Tesla. You have to get a tow truck to lift it. A jack won't lift up a Tesla anymore. It's so heavy. Okay, so these batteries are heavy. They're lithium ion. They heat up as they get depleted. There have been cases that they've caught on fire. The technology has come a long way. Don't get me wrong. It's come a very long way. Nike batteries are gone. Lithium ion drills. They're awesome. They're fabulous. The power, the lightweight. But once you start getting into something that's on someone's back and weighs 35 pounds, plus a 10-pound handheld blower, now you're up to 45 pounds. We got to start to worry about back injuries, worker comp claims. So there's a lot of things that come into effect. But as I said, we're not against trying it and seeing it. We just got to see what else is out there and what's name brand mainstream. And if we could get some money or some grant money, because at these prices, right now with a 2% tax cap and with the cost of equipment, our blades on our snowplows have doubled. Okay, almost everything that we're buying are brake parts for police cars. They're 4 to 6 weeks out. You can't get them. They went from $125 a set to almost $220 a set. Just right now, because it's the market. It's just where the world is. Okay, so I don't know how much of these prices right now have gone up or down due to inflation, escalation, everything happening around the world. I'm hoping to see these numbers come back down, hopefully in the next year or 2 years. So, but I mean, let's give it a shot. I mean, let's talk more. Let's try to put something together. Let's try to put together a game plan and see if we could tap some resources, tap some money. And as I said, I mean, let's see if we could get a set of tools and try them out.
yeah, I think that's what we're thinking is just try and rest assured with this. It's like Ashley said, it's not targeting, municipal or anything like that. It's not even really targeting gas versus electric. It's more a seasonal sort of thing, which is in line with, as I said, the other municipalities, what they're doing. And it's really almost every other municipality has some sort of limitation in place. So we're one of the few that does not have something, prohibiting gas blowers during certain times. So
Well, the only thing I will tell you
And I think it's a good start. I think it's a good start to get everybody, get the word out for awareness that we got to start thinking this moving forward.
only thing I will tell you is that because I'm involved with the Turf Landscape Association as well, because I'm an arborist, just be cautious with these kinds of legislation because they are viewed as being nitpicky against them or nitpicking against their group of people, and then municipal people are exempt, and what the hell's going on with this, So I think the approach needs to be explained better, and I think the industry has not done that. And I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying a lot of municipalities as a whole have just passed the legislation, and a lot of these landscapers then turn around and they get a sour taste in their mouth because, hey, now their livelihood is changed. Now they got to hire 3 more guys to use a rake, and that brings down up the additional cost to you guys, the end users or the homeowners. So I think somehow, if the county's going to do a global thing here, I think A, that would be awesome. B, to get these
I do too.
landscape associations or groups all into a room. I mean, because here everybody's hunting and pecking and shooting at each other, and listen, the world's going this way sooner or later, either fossil fuel, electric, hydrogen, something else in the future is going to be power. Whatever it is, we don't know 100%. Right now it's going electric. Who knows? In 5-10 years, it might go hydrogen. We don't know. Okay. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents. But we're here to talk. We're here to help. Paulie and I are welcome to sitting down. If you guys want to come down and see the operation or see the guys working at the ball fields, you're more than welcome.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Greg, let's talk tomorrow. Just remind me because I got training in the morning and I'll get this emailed out. I'll send it to you and you send it to everybody. All right, it's pretty rudimentary. It's not 100%, but at least it gives you a framework. All right.
Again, Mike, we have a meeting tomorrow ourselves at 1 o'clock anyway, so I'll remind you when I see.
Yes, so just add that to the list. All right.
But we'll do. But again, thank you, Michael and Paul, for your time. Just for the
Any
public.
more questions, guys?
Thank
We're
you.
good.
Nice meeting you
No,
all.
it's-
All right,
Good
guys.
night.
Have a great
Helpful.
night.
Appreciate your
Thanks
time.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. So again, I truthfully don't mind which we address next. So Bridget, whatever item that we have in the agenda.
Yeah, I'll just go in order. So the next one that I can see on there is the seed exchange event. I just put it on there
Hey,
just to.
Can we hold up for 1 second?
Yeah.
I think that it would be like, I would just want to have like a next step for us with the legislation. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know what, Stephanie or Jason or like are expecting from us, and we don't really have a timeline with them, but I do think that we have, based on Stephanie's guidance, we have focused the legislation on the residences. And I think that like, we just need to figure out how we're going to nail something down.
Yeah, I agree. So we have this working document, which we have the edits to, and I'll finalize those edits into one document as well that we can send out to everyone. I don't
Because
know.
I think that I feel like one thing, that I feel like we're pretty, it's not too hard to replicate what the other municipalities have done in terms of parameters, what the guideline is. Like, as I think I mentioned at the last meeting, like my big question was enforcement. And, I had been kind of surprised that it was, it's like the homeowner and whoever's there but that seems to be how everybody's going. So if we want to be, and there could be really good reasons for that. And if we want to be consistent, then that's the way to do it. But then there also needs to be input, from the police arm about policing it. Like, I feel like almost they need to come in and give their spiel about, how are they gonna, what are they gonna say to the people? And I don't know. But like, that's another thing where I just feel like I'm flying blind a little bit about what to recommend, and that someone would need to give input with that. Otherwise, like, I don't want to propose something that, can't be enforced or is not aligned with how they're operating. Like, there's just, I don't think that I have any like right to do that.
I think
Anyway.
one thing as far as enforcement, I remember us mentioning before, this was meetings ago, that I think somebody had said that the way that they enforce it in a few other towns was you had to take a video, or like a video of like the person, the neighbor or whatever, that you're making the complaint about, and then submit that through like the form that they have on their website. So it's not
Okay.
actually using the police. I don't think using the police for this enforcement is a great idea. Like, it's just, it's not necessary in my
Yeah, like,
opinion.
that's why I just don't know how
So-
to do it.
I think if we could create a page that's like, I don't know, like a leaf blower, I don't know, not even, or just for like general like noise complaint sort of thing, where people can submit like a video or whatever, then that would be the easiest way to do it. And then, because a lot of what we're doing as far as enforcement is like, okay, we send a warning, like, versus like actually giving a ticket. You have to do it like many times to actually be fined. So it's like, okay, they get a complaint through the website, and then a warning is sent, that there was a noise complaint due to leaf blowers, and here's the leaf blower rules. It's a simple bullet point thing of like, these are the times of the year, these are the hours that you can use a leaf blower. Thank you for, following the noise ordinance. I don't know, something along those lines. It doesn't have to be like a horrible, like, oh, you're
Yeah.
so bad, look at what you did, blowing your leaves around or whatever. But we can, just like make it more educational. I definitely don't think, obviously, like the police, they're busy with other things, and
Yeah, I agree.
even if they aren't busy with
Oh
other
my
things,
God.
I don't know if using cops to like enforce a leaf blower law is a great idea. So
No, I know,
Is
but
that-
that's what
yeah.
people do. If they think if they call the cops when someone's parked improperly on the street, like that's what people in our village do for tons of little things that this falls under.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can understand. Yeah, I think like you said, we need to be clear. Maybe we need to put that into our suggestion, is like to create this sort of system, like some sort of easy system. I don't know if the webpage is the way we do it or something else, but maybe we can find some sort of system that would be automated or something to like send out a notice to people versus like actually using law enforcement. Because I think that would be well received by the board. I think they would appreciate that. Because I know if we do say, oh, you send out the police, you get a ticket or you get whatever, there's going to be pushback from the police department and from residents that aren't going to want to obviously deal with that. And it's also a very
I
negative
think
thing.
our residents love calling the police, but anyway,
Yeah.
for things that irk them.
But it's like,
But,
yeah,
but
it's
they
also
shouldn't.
like,
We don't want to reinforce. We don't want to reinforce that behavior.
and I also don't want people looking upon like what we do at the sustainability committee. For me, it's like, it's all positive things. Like we're trying to make positive steps.
Mhm.
So if we enact some sort of legislation that has really harsh enforcement and people are getting ticketed and whatever, that's going to come back on us. And people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this sustainability, look at them. They're like over here telling us we can't do anything. We're getting fined. So I think it's better if we figure out another way, maybe through the website or something where people can submit like a noise complaint.
Well, that's another point, along with, again, if these other villages legislation have the homeowner, being fined, then if you're making a complaint, whatever mechanism you're using, I mean, like you said, there are warnings and whatever, but the enforcement that others are using is the landscaper gets fined, the homeowner gets fined, and I feel like there's a third party. So then when you're calling,
they
you're
all get
also like
fined at the same
tattling, then
time?
you're also like doing that to your neighbor. What?
And they all get fined at the same time? Or are they?
I mean, I'll look at the draft now, because like I said, I had plunked in what Rye said, and then I saw that was consistent with Scarsdale or someone. I mean, they were all consistent. It really surprised me. Where is it? It's at the bottom. I mean, it even says subject to a fine of not more than $250 or imprisonment for a term of not more than 15 days. I was like, what?
Yeah, we'll make it just
Punished
3
by
days.
first
How about that?
conviction
They
of
only get
a
3
fine
days
not
of
more than
imprisonment.
$1,000. I mean, like it's
So that
huge.
is right. And so I'm correct in you saying that is Rye's law for
Yeah,
leaf
but-
blowers.
yeah,
You can
but
be in
like I
prison for 15 days. That's kind of
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it's okay, and also that's part of like the noise code overall, but still. Okay, so I took
Well,
Yeah,
no
I'm
wonder
sure
why
that-
they're not
yeah.
enforcing it. That's like
But
too,
I'm sure
that's
they're
too
not gonna-
strict.
I'm sure they're not going to give that to you in your first offense. So that's probably
No,
15
they're
days.
not.
Yeah, probably someone who's violated it over and over again.
but I'm just saying we have to like propose something. Or
I think-
somebody has
I
to come up with
think-
something.
I think we should have some sort of fine. So I think the first time, like we talked about a warning, you're not getting a ticket, you're getting,
Who's
the
you? Is
information.
it the landscaping company or the homeowner or both?
I would say both get the warning, but then maybe it's, I don't know, who should we, if it comes to where it's being done over and over again, it's hard to say because it could be like we talked about before, the resident is telling the landscaper, don't use this, but they're not home and they do it
Yeah.
anyways, so it's like, how do you determine in those cases, because of course they're not going to admit, one's not going to say, oh yeah, it was me, or whatever, so because they don't want to be fined. So I don't know, it's I would imagine that because this is legislation for both residents and landscapers, it's easier just to find the property owner, whoever owns the property, versus doing it with like, oh, it's a landscape company, because not everybody uses a landscape company. I don't, and a lot of my neighbors here don't use landscape companies, but they do use leaf blowers. So
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know they're the ones that own the property. So I think at the end of the day, it is their responsibility to make sure that the whoever they're hiring is following the law. Because if you think about, like, oh, if you hire a contractor to do work on your house and they don't pull permits or whatever, that's the homeowner's responsibility. So
Mhm.
like, they're the ones that get fined or have to deal with it. So I think that's my opinion. I don't know if there's other opinions on that, but I think that might be the easiest way, versus like trying to figure out, like, oh, this one's a landscaper and this one's this person, next door or whatever. So
I just want whatever's easy and whatever actually
yeah.
incentivizes the behavior. I mean, I feel like I've always been a little bit more the one in this group that feels like I don't want to, bat someone over the head with a really harsh penalty, but I do feel like this behavior change is more about people changing because there's a penalty, and there have been tons of forums, and there's a lot of education that has gone out in different municipalities about why the problem with gas blowers. So I really just think it's a resistance to change more than a lack of understanding. And so I do feel like the enforcement has to have not something crazy, but enough of a pain point that it makes people actually do change.
No
Yeah.
pain,
That's all.
no gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing
um,
is that it does, like, there should be education about really the ban is just gas leaf blowers. So they could use no leaf blower. It's not rakes, like, one of the gentlemen said before. It's no one's raking. It's, you can use electric if we're, and we're going to be consistent with these other villages. You can do, mulching, and there's alternatives that are, mulching is, a lot less expensive than even getting an electric blower. So anyway, but whatever. I think the enforcement is the one piece of this draft that is really, it's just, we're a little bit not there yet. Or a lot
yeah, and I
not
know
there.
that's an
That
issue
we're
for
not there yet.
everybody.
But
And
I
that's an
think,
issue for everyone.
I think
It's
there
not-
will be an educational component.
Yeah,
and
there's
there's going to be people that are going to violate. They violate with the recycling all the time,
Yeah,
and it's
I've
picked
given
up
up on that.
anyway.
Yeah, I've given up on
So
that.
I think every person you get, every landscaper you get on board is a win. So I think the educational component alone is going to get some. It won't get any, but I do worry about neighbors turning against neighbors. I worry about the divisiveness that could come from too many punishments. I really think this legislation will make a little bit of a difference, and hopefully with time, more and more.
No doubt.
Yeah. Um,
One
I
thing I
think
could, I
you're
could just jump in real quick. One thing that I can do on my end is that, again, I have a meeting with Michael Nowak, who is, I said, the one who's is superintendent of public works, and as well as Chris Bradbury, so he's the administrator. So I definitely want to speak with both of them and just get their input. So what is the best way that we can enforce it? So
That'd
that
be
way, as you
great.
guys said, yeah, so that way we don't have because one thing I have been concerned, again, we have to, of course, have some sort of enforcement mechanism. Otherwise, this doesn't matter what we put out there; it's going to be totally ignored by many. Not to say it won't be ignored by some people at all. Some people are just not going to follow it either way. But just so it doesn't, as you said, Rob, it doesn't turn into a tool of people using it to settle domestic disputes between each other. Because trust me, like we get that for like trees, for example. So Michael Nowak also deals with trees, and he has some people who will call And I actually had a case recently where somebody was calling, and then I found out later in the call that's because the neighbor was upset at the other neighbors. They called, wanted to make sure that that other neighbor, the one who was upset at the other one, got all the permits done correctly. So as soon as I heard that, I tried to make sure I got off that call as quickly as possible, because if I say something, then they're gonna hear what they want to hear, and then they're gonna try to misconstrue what I tell them. So I had Michael Nowak deal with it, and then he told them, okay, what this deal was. So that's the one concern that I personally have. But again, are we ever going to make everybody happy? And the answer truthfully is almost certainly no. But at least that's what I can do, starting with Nowak tomorrow. And then the next time I'm able to speak to Chris about this, just to get their inputs on what they suggest is the best course of action.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And in the meantime, we can, of course, finalize some sort of draft for what we've, the leaf blower legislation. And then we can, once we get back information on enforcement, we can just add that in.
Yeah,
And
then so if everybody here can give again their inputs, again, this is like I told them before they got on this call, guys, is that all this that we were discussing is preliminary and nothing's been finalized. But I definitely want Michael, Paul, and Chris to see any of these proposals, because then they're the three, again, other than the trustees and the mayor, of course. They're the three that definitely we want their input the most on this. And again, I have no doubt when I speak to Michael, he'll have no problem, as he said in this call, or even Paul, Vinci, that they'll have no problem again giving any sort of guidance to that anybody has. And I told them so. Look, again, they have a lot more knowledge than any of us, which is why I wanted them to come speak to talk to all of us about this. So
now I just
Yeah,
remember it was the Larchmont, because Michael, you provided the Larchmont, that was, oh, I'm seeing it right here. I just found what you had sent. Any person violating will be subject to a fine of $250 for the first offense, $500 for the second, $1,000. And because whatever the enforcement
$1,000, wow.
for the third offense and subsequent
Okay.
offenses, this is the Larchmont code that Michael found. So I mean, again, we should be consistent with however we enforce similar things in the village, but also, again, consistent with, there's plenty of other legislation that that we can look at for these gas blower bans and see what they're doing.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a little excessive. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but just it's the structure. At
crazy.
least if the structure is the same.
Yeah, and maybe I know we talked about last time, I believe, also offering like a few options to them. So like we could have option A, B, and they could pick whatever one they see fit. But yeah, so, I mean, some sort of fine afterwards. I think we could at least give people a warning at first, not fine $250. But I mean, maybe it works for them. Maybe that scares people enough to just be like, okay.
it might, but like I said, I just want to say a couple of things, and then I guess we can move on. We can just be in interest of time. Again, I have all night, well, if you need to, it can be up to 10 o'clock, but again, if you have other places.
We'll make it quick.
Yeah, yeah, but then again, just to wrap up this this topic before we get on to other stuff, is that's what I'll do. Like I said, just on my end, I'll speak to the two of them, Chris and Nowak, when I see them. But again, I'll remind him to send you all that email that he said he was going to send you regarding any particular details. But just the one thing I wanted to discuss, I know we talked about this before last month's meeting, potentially doing some sort of presentation of 26. Now, this is just my personal anybody's going to be ready for that, to do that April 26th. Like I said, it doesn't have to be, it can be in May or June or whatever. So I'm not trying to rush anybody or talk anybody out of doing it. It's just that whenever you decide, the committee decides that you do want to do something like that or present anything to the board, again, you guys just got to let me know, because I have to see it and Chris has to see it. We have to put it on the agenda. But this, the final thing I'll say on this is that, again, any ideas you guys want to put together on this doc, again, if you want any some more clarification, I'll send it down to Nowak, because and Paul Vinci, and then they can look it over, and then I'll be happy to relay to all of you whatever their feedback is on it.
Okay. Sounds good. Did we want to move on to the next item? Okay, perfect. So this is just touching on the seed exchange event is going forward. As we've discussed, we just got Greg just got the banner that we had designed, printed. It's not put up yet, but it'll be put up soon. So that'll be advertising the event at the front of the library. So if anybody wants to join, we also have a speaker who's coming to speak, talk about, native plants, gardening, and that's in conjunction with Rye Sustainability. So have like a 3-town event all at once. So that should be nice. And does anybody have any questions about that, or do you want me to move on? Moving on. Okay.
Just one thing, but again, so that just the banner is there, so I'll contact the library again. So Bridget, I'll be in touch with you, so that way we can figure out when we want to put it up there. I made sure to have grommets in it, and so it should have zip ties in it as well, so that way we can tie it together. So again, as Bridget said, if anyone wants to join us that helps put it up, by all means. But that's it for me on this.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think that'll be nice to have it advertised on the front. I think, Greg, this is more you, the birthday event planning, if you wanted to touch on that.
So yeah, so we are doing it for the first time in a couple of years. The last couple of years was canceled because of COVID. It's still going to be, to my knowledge, at Crawford Park, as it's always been, to my understanding. But yeah, this is something that just Chris wanted us to discuss here, is that if anything that the committee wants to do, and this just, again, this happened in June, so we can discuss more in depth, of course, next month. But again, I just want to hear from you guys any sort of ideas that any of you may have in mind. Again, would you guys want to maybe have like a table set up in there just to get people interested, community members, because it's probably going to be one of our, not probably, almost, it's certainly going to be one of the bigger events, not the biggest event we do during the summer, because in addition to having a birthday, we're now also starting all of our summer events, as many as we can do fit into the summer. So we're hopefully we'll have a big turnout as in previous years. Again, this will be my first one, so I'm still learning about it as I go along. So then I'll just throw the question back at any of you. Again, this is just to get some discussion going. I don't, of course, expect any of you to come up with any concrete plans now. That will be for next month and for June. We'll have one more meeting. Anything that you guys would consider wanting to do potentially at the Rye Brook birthday?
We had discussed in the past, we hadn't actually been able to do it though. We had discussed having a table and like doing composting and selling the bins, and like also having a bin that people could compost in to make the event like a little more eco-friendly. I don't remember if we had discussed anything else along with that, but
that's a good point. I mean, we did do composting at the event in prior years, so that, the food was served on compostable plates. And I think that I usually rallied people to stand at the bins so that they were separating, like plastic cups from the food and the compostable plates. I mean, we have to, we did that at the food truck event, and all of us in the committee, I think everyone really stepped up and like took a shift. So it would be good if we could manage that.
yeah.
And then we just have to have like I mean, the DPW guys then just have to like truck the compost refuse to Village Hall so that it's, where all the other stuff is dropped off. I mean, that's just the rest we can kind of do ourselves, but that they have to help with, and we've done it before.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, perfect.
So I guess if we could, do we have materials like printed? I guess we might need to print some materials maybe to give out. Do we want to do printed materials?
I mean, it would be good to, especially if we're going to be moving towards this gas blower ban, it would be good to have some educational information about, I think even just, why people want this, because it's less noisy. I mean, I think the thing that I really more recently learned is that, the blowers blow all the fertile topsoil off, and then then you have to like refertilize your yard. I mean, I think we could just maybe have some, I agree with you about like handouts, but something about healthy yard techniques that are not like are fun and pretty and not overwhelming.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done, just so you know, Greg, like in the past, we've done seedling giveaways that were like the rage. I mean, people just came and like loved, and we usually kind of made them do something to engage a little bit to get a seedling. And I guess, I don't know if the budget for that came out of our committee or like who paid for it, but and where the seedlings came from, I can't remember anything, but we gave them out. People love it, love it.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, I feel like the free plant, like we could give away milkweed for like butterfly gardens and stuff, and people would love that. So,
And we could do, and I was just thinking like a little info about the tag sale. I mean, just like we could even just have something,
yeah, just like all of
like,
our
all
upcoming
the stuff
events.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I think if we could, Greg, this is more for you because I know before Alex had said that if we want to sell the compost kits, there has to be like a village employee there. So sometimes we would just like have an example kit. Like that's probably what we'll have at the seed exchange event, is just like an example of that. But I don't know if it'd be possible to maybe sell the compost kits as well. We probably would need more than like a few of them because I'm, you know, not everybody's gonna want a compost kit. But
If there's, I have like I have a bunch of other ideas now. I mean, if there are leftover seeds from the seed swap, we could do those like, could we make seed bombs from those? Or like
Yeah.
that's like an activity for kids to put, they really just put like the seeds in a baggie and it's a seed bomb. Here's another idea, is that the compost site at the airport, there's like compost there. I wonder if, I don't know, could we like have bags of that we kind of give out and advertise? I don't know if that just kind of reinforces the whole compost thing, or that there's this compost available. None of these ideas might be good. I'm just it's like a brain dump.
I love the seed bomb idea. I know people have been asking about it, even at the seed exchange. People are like, "Oh, are you guys gonna make seed bombs?" I'm like, I don't know that we have the equipment to do that right now, but I think that'd be a fun activity, especially, you know, the kids always like to get involved with like butterfly gardens and stuff like that. So I think that'd be fun, and it's also not too expensive. So if we're gonna do something, that
especially if we
everyone
take the
will-
leftover seeds from the seed swap, it's not very
yeah,
expensive.
free.
But
Yeah.
I can also ask Chris though too, if I, again, because I plan on going to both the Sea Exchange and the Rybrook birthday. So again, I would like to think that my presence qualifies as a village employee.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely.
Yeah. So again, that's something I'll definitely bring up with Chris, because again, we sell them right out of our office in the administration.
Yeah. The money can't touch
Yeah.
our hands, it can only touch yours.
Yeah, and I think Alex would just take cash. I think that's how they did it. So, but yeah, she said like she had to be there for it to be able to sell the kits. So, sometimes you weren't able to do it. So those are all great ideas. I like all those ideas. And we can kind of do an email and brainstorm what we need. When is the Rybrook birthday again? What day is it?
June 18th. from
Yeah, it's
12 to
the
4.
Saturday before Father's Day.
Okay, I will again be gone. I'll be in Florida.
I will be
Yeah.
gone also.
Oh
Sorry.
gee.
And that,
Let's
yeah,
scratch
sorry.
the whole, let's scratch the whole thing.
You're like,
Scratch
never
all
mind.
these ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
you don't have to. It's
if
just a suggestion.
seedlings, if it's seedlings, I could prep those and grow those and get like milkweed ready and stuff like that, and have it like delivered to whoever is going to be at the event before it happens. So that would be easy to potentially have ready. But
Is it 12
yeah,
to
we have
4?
somebody who wants to take it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's from 12 to 4.
Yes.
Okay.
But we can just kind of see. That's a few months away, so we'll be okay.
We
Well,
should
yeah,
see who would be around to do it, to make sure
Yeah.
we have people. Now that I'm retired, I can leave before the end of the month, so I'm not locked into that time frame anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next item on the agenda, if everybody's ready to kind of move forward from that, is the community tag sale event. We've already had people asking, when's the next community tag sale? So I guess it's a hit. And I think this is more, so Greg, I want to kind of explain this event to you because it's an event that we create and organize, but really, I'm very sorry to say this, a lot of the work goes on to you because it's basically a digital event, or we only do digital things for it. So what happens is people register online. It's actually still, if you do a search for Rybrook Community Tag Sale, the page is still on our website, on the village website. So what Alex did was we created like a sign up form essentially where people from Port Chester and Rybrook, because what happened was when we were doing it, a ton of people from Port Chester wanted to participate too. So we let them, and so now it's for them and us. So anyways, there's this really simple form that people can fill out with what they're selling. It's kind of little check boxes and like their address. And then I think it's like 5 days before the event or 7 days before the event, Alex posted a map of all of the addresses so people could go on to that same page and they could see a map of all the tag sales going on during that time period. So that's kind of what we did. But
Okay,
it's not. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so just want to make sure I understand this, and that's fine to do that on my end. So these are tag sales of again. So these addresses that were posted, these all the people, I guess, who volunteered to, I guess, give their addresses.
Yeah, so these are individual homes. They're doing their own thing,
Okay.
so we don't oversee them. We don't.
Okay,
We just basically make a listing and we put the time and we advertise that there's this community-wide tag sale during this time on this day. And I think we had a rain date as well. And that people can go on and see it. So it ends up being kind of like a big event because people love to go to tag sales. So they go all around to like one after the other. But we don't actually have anything to do with like collecting money. We don't do any of that. We just create the map and advertise the tag sale. So.
okay, perfect.
And the
And it's
reason
like
this
I
is
said-
sustainability related is the point is that people put so much stuff out at bulk. And so part of our messaging is don't put your stuff out at bulk, like sell it on this day. And so it's kind of like a, one person's trash is another one's treasure.
Mm-hmm. And so I will send you the page because I looked it up earlier, but the page on the website, and it is still there. And I'm sure Alex, since I know she's still available to talk about some of these things, she could probably tell you how she did the map. I don't think it was very difficult because it was just like a Google map sort of thing. And it just had like the different points on there. So hopefully it would be easy to replicate and, edit. So
I'll figure it out. Like as you said, that Alex has been very helpful to me in various different matters. If need be, I will contact her. But I can't imagine myself not being able to figure it out.
I'm looking up so the one thing that I kind of was hoping that we could solidify this time is what date we wanted to do it on. So last year we did it. I'm opening the page. We had the tag sale on July 17th with the rain date on July 24th. It went from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that was a Saturday. And the hours seemed to work well for people. So, there's always going to be people that want it a week later or a week before, and it's hard to like make everybody happy because there's so many people participating in it. So my thought is to really keep it in July at around the same time every year so that people know when to expect it to happen. So this year we could literally do this. We could do it on the 16th, July 16th, July 23rd, July 9th.
Yeah, I'm trying to check my phone real quick again to make sure it doesn't conflict with any other village events, just so we're not competing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know, as I said, we're trying to do all those summer events again, and just want to make sure that we're not in conflict with some of those, because again, that may reduce the turnout if we're trying to compete with like some of the recreation events.
Yeah. So just kind of figuring that out. Because I know with last time, people really want to know early because they say, oh, I'm going to clear out my garage, but I don't want to clear it out if you guys are doing the tag sale again, because I want to save it for the tag sale. So like people want to know as soon as possible. And I've already told, some people in like the community forum, like, yes, it's happening. Don't worry. It's going to be in July. So like save your stuff, but I think the sooner we can get that information out there, the better, just so that
Based on what
more
I'm seeing,
people
some,
know.
like July 24th would be fine, based on what I'm seeing on now, for the summer events that we're doing. July
Okay,
24th.
so last time it was on a Saturday, so is July 23rd okay?
Yeah, you can make it a Saturday. Sure.
And then with the rain date, so usually we did the rain date as, I think we did it as a week later. Let me check. Oh no, so yeah, so we did the rain date as being the next Saturday. So the rain date would be the 30th then. I don't know if that conflicts with anything.
That does, so let me see if I find anything else, because July 30th, we're trying to do the food truck event from 11 to 3, so that's, we're gonna conflict with it completely.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
give me 1 second.
maybe we could do the 16th and the 23rd.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
could do the rain date of the 24th. We could just still do the next day as the rain date.
Yeah, or that too. And I mean, I don't, again, it doesn't have to be a Saturday, like per se. I mean, if you want to keep it a Saturday, we can do that, like the 16th and the 23rd. Or as Ashley said, you can just make it the following day.
Yeah, I know we went back and forth on that last time, making it the following day or the following week. I'm fine with making it the following day. I feel like in July, there's not like huge storms usually. I don't know. So hopefully we wouldn't get like a gigantic one that's multiple days long. So, you know, I think that would hopefully work. July 23rd and
At
July.
least it's a good thing about Rybrook. Like Rybrook is not a big village, so and again, it's going to be summer, so people would like to be out and about even if it's Sunday. And again, like it'll be a few hours. You don't have to be out there until like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You do it for a few hours and then you can go home.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think let's do, if it's okay with everyone, then let's do the 23rd with the rain date of the 24th. Okay, perfect. And what I'll do then is I have all the materials from last year. I can just update them. And I can send them to you, Greg. And once we get approval for all that, put it out on the sustainability page and in the community forums. I think I had put some, I think Alex had sent like a notice to like Westmore News or stuff like that so that they could put, I don't know if we paid for like an ad in there or if they did it for free, but like we had like a section where they had the poster for it.
Was it possible it was our village our newsletter? Because I know that we distribute too.
Yeah, definitely that too. I think
could-
yeah,
it
we had
could
a
have been
whole
that.
section of that. Yeah.
Yeah, for our newsletter. Yeah, again, that's something that's right at our fingertips that Chris can put out for the newsletter.
Yeah, because the biggest thing with this event is just like the advertising of it, that people know about it. So I will get you that poster as soon as possible, and then we can figure out like where we're sending it out to. Just send it out everywhere. So
Yes, please just check in, just so I can get up to speed with it. Just send me any materials that you have, just so I can figure out exactly. I know we
Yeah.
discussed it, but once I see it, then I'll have a better idea of what I need to do on my end.
I will actually do that right after we get off of this. I'll send you some of the stuff.
Sounds good, perfect.
Okay, and so that was the last thing on the agenda. I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to bring up, or that's it. The next meeting, sorry, I'm in July now. Hold on. Will
Next meeting should be May 5th. May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, May 5th, and I'm assuming, are we doing Zoom again? Is that, I know that's okay. So does everybody still want to do the Zoom? Okay. Okay, perfect. So we will do it, and I'm assuming 7:30 is still okay for everyone as well. Well, I don't know if that'll disrupt Cinco de Mayo celebrations. Does anybody have plans? Okay, so I guess 7:30, and we'll try to keep it brief. Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Again, I just need you guys to stay on because there's a couple of things that I'm going to end the recording, but there's a couple of things I need to discuss with you guys. So just please stay on for a few more minutes. But for the public, thank you for tuning in. For those of you who will watch this later, and I will be ending the meeting now, and I'll see you all next month.